Sometimes we wait for a loud voice from the sky, a miracle, a divine sign that breaks through the chaos of our daily lives. But the truth is, God doesn't always shout. Most of the time he whispers. In your pain, in your silence, in your longing, he is speaking. The question is not whether God is talking to you. The question is, are you truly listening? There are moments in your life when everything feels still. Yet something inside you begins to stir. That stirring is not your anxiety. It's not your fear. It's a divine whisper, calling you back home, calling you back to yourself, calling you back to truth. God speaks in ways that don't always make sense to the mind, but they resonate with the soul. He speaks through your pain. When you're broken and wondering why life feels so hard, that ache isn't a punishment. It's an awakening. Pain is often the language of the soul. It slows you down, it humbles you, it makes you listen to what you've been running from, and through that pain, God says, "My child, I never left you, but now you're ready to hear me." He speaks through silence. The world is loud. Everyone has something to say, but the voice of God, it comes when the noise dies down, when you're alone in stillness. That's when his voice becomes clear, but it doesn't sound like a voice. It sounds like peace. It feels like clarity. It arrives as a knowing, deep, quiet, certain. If you're waiting for God to speak through lightning and fire, you may miss him whispering in your heart. He speaks through people. Sometimes a stranger will say something you needed to hear. A friend calls at the exact moment your soul was crying. A book falls off a shelf with the words your heart needed. These are not coincidences. These are divine messages hidden in everyday life. If your heart is open, everything becomes a message. Every person becomes a teacher. He speaks through delay and detour. You wanted something. You prayed for it. But it didn't happen. You feel abandoned. You think God isn't listening. But what if the delay was protection? What if the closed door was mercy? You can only see the full picture later, but in the moment, trust this. If it's delayed, it's divinely timed. If it's denied, it's divinely replaced. He speaks through your intuition, that feeling in your gut, that deep pull, that quiet urge to change direction, to leave, to stay, to act. That's not random. It's divine guidance. The more you silence your ego, the louder God's guidance becomes. He doesn't always give answers. Sometimes he gives directions. And faith is following those directions even when you don't understand. He speaks through transformation. Look at who you used to be. Now look at who you are. You've been through storms, pain, loss, silence, but you're still here, not by chance, but by grace. God didn't just speak to you. He walked with you even when you couldn't hear him. He was guiding you through your becoming. Pain, the very thing we run from, is often the very thing God uses to reach us. It doesn't come randomly. It doesn't come cruelly. It comes when your soul has been asleep for too long. It comes when you've wandered too far from yourself, too far from your truth, too far from what you were created to become. Most people think pain is punishment. They ask, why is this happening to me? But the deeper question, the spiritual question, is, what is this pain trying to teach me? God doesn't break your heart to hurt you. He breaks your heart to open it, because sometimes it takes a broken heart to let his light in. There are times when you pray and things still go wrong. You cry and the suffering doesn't stop. You do everything right. And yet life feels heavy, confusing, unfair. But understand this, the pain is not a sign that God is absent. The pain is often the very proof that he is present, doing his deepest work. You see, God doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes he speaks in disruptions. He uses discomfort to strip away what you no longer need, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that vanished, the betrayal that shook you, the illness that humbled you. All of it tools in the hands of the divine, because growth is uncomfortable and healing hurts before it helps. Pain silences the distractions of the outside world. It forces you to go inward, to listen, to reflect, to feel. It breaks through the walls you've built around your heart, walls built from pride, from ego, from the illusion of control. And in that moment of breaking, God whispers, I'm here. I've always been here, but now you're finally ready to listen. Pain is not the enemy. It's the messenger. It's the sacred turning point, where your suffering becomes your awakening, where your wounds become the doorway to your deepest wisdom, and where your breaking becomes your blessing in disguise. Silence is not empty. Silence is sacred. It is in the stillness of your soul that the divine begins to speak. We often expect God's voice to come with drama, lightning bolts, miracles, powerful signs. But in truth, his most powerful messages come wrapped in quiet, not in the roar of the storm, but in the calm that follows it. In today's world, everything is loud. Your phone is constantly buzzing. The noise of opinions, media, stress, fear, it never stops. And in all that noise, the gentle whisper of God gets drowned out. But he does not shout. He does not force. He waits. He waits for you to slow down, to sit with yourself, to return to that quiet space within you where your soul and his presence can meet without interruption. Have you noticed it's often when you're alone, when the world has gone quiet, that you suddenly feel clarity, not always in words, but in a knowing? You can't explain it, but deep inside something shifts. That's not coincidence. That's not your imagination. That's God speaking in stillness. He doesn't need a microphone. He speaks in the language of peace. When you're about to make a decision, and suddenly there's a calm certainty that wasn't there before, that's him. When you've been anxious for days, and in one quiet moment you feel a lightness in your chest, that's him. But the world teaches you to keep moving, keep achieving, keep chasing, and in doing so, you move so fast that your spirit can't keep up. That's why silence isn't just a break. Silence is a return to your source, a return to your truth, a return to the soft voice of God that has always been there beneath the chaos, waiting for you to listen. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't reach for more distractions. Reach for the silence. God speaks in many ways, but one of the most overlooked, yet powerful, ways is through people. We often wait for a mystical moment, a supernatural voice, a sign written in the clouds. But more often than not, God delivers his message in a way so human that we almost miss it, through a conversation, through a passing comment, through someone you never expected to speak to your soul. Think back. Has someone ever said something to you, something simple, something casual, and it hit you like lightning? Suddenly, everything made sense. You felt seen, understood, called forward. That wasn't just a random moment. That was a divine encounter. God often hides his voice in the mouths of others. He uses people as vessels who might not even know they are being used. A friend who comforts you exactly when you need it. A stranger who shares a story that mirrors your struggle. A mentor who speaks truth into your confusion. These are not coincidences. They are conversations coded with purpose. And sometimes the person carrying the message won't look like someone holy. Because that's where the whisper lives. That's where the answers are. That's where God is already waiting. They won't be perfect. They may not even know God themselves. But remember this, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He uses the ordinary to deliver the extraordinary. He uses flawed people to pass on flawless truth. But to receive the message, you have to be awake. You have to be humble enough to listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Sometimes the message will come in encouragement. Other times it may come in correction. Sometimes it comes in love, sometimes in loss, but always it comes with a purpose. The person sitting next to you might be carrying your confirmation. The person you're ignoring might be holding the clarity you've been praying for, and even the person who hurt you, yes, even they, may be part of your divine unfolding. That's how vast God's wisdom is. He doesn't just use perfect situations. He uses everything, every voice, every vessel, every moment, so the next time someone speaks truth to your soul, pause, don't brush it off, don't assume it's just them. Ask yourself, could this be God talking to me? Through them, rejection hurts. It stings in a way that few things can. When a door closes, when you're told no, when something you deeply wanted slips away, it can feel like the world is against you. You question your worth, you question your purpose, and in the quiet moments you may even question God. Why would you let this happen? But what if that closed door wasn't punishment? What if it was protection? What if God, in His infinite wisdom, removed something from your path, not to harm you, but to save you? You see, what feels like rejection from your limited human view is often redirection from a higher, divine perspective. We don't always see it in the moment. In the moment, all we see is the disappointment, the lost opportunity, the broken dream, but God sees beyond the moment. He sees the whole map, while you're only looking at a single street. He knows that if you walk through that door you're so desperate to open, you might end up in a place that looks good, but destroys your peace, or in a relationship that feels right, but breaks your spirit, or in a job that gives you status, but drains your soul. Rejection is not the absence of God. It's often the proof of His involvement, because He loves you too much to give you what you're not ready for, or what is not aligned with who you're meant to become. Think about it. How many times have you been disappointed, only to look back months or years later and say, "Thank God that didn't work out"? That's the divine pattern. God doesn't just close doors. He guides you away from them with grace disguised as disappointment, and sometimes the door doesn't slam shut. Sometimes it stays open just enough to tempt you, but deep down something feels off. That feeling isn't fear, it's discernment. It's God whispering, "This is not for you. I have something better." But here's the catch. Redirection only works if you're willing to let go of your plan. Let go of the timeline. Let go of trying to force things into place. Faith isn't proven when everything is going your way. Faith is proven when you trust that the no was just as holy as the yes. So when rejection comes, pause. Before you fight it, fear it, or fall apart, ask yourself, what if this isn't the end? What if this is God gently turning me towards something greater, something I can't see yet, but something He's already prepared for me? There's a discomfort inside you, a feeling you can't explain. It's not pain, it's not sadness, it's something more subtle, yet more powerful, a kind of spiritual unease. You're not at peace where you are, even if everything around you looks fine. That is not weakness, that is not confusion, that is a signal, a sacred inner alarm, ringing softly but persistently. That's God calling you, because when your life becomes too quiet on the outside but too loud on the inside, it usually means your soul is outgrowing your current situation. You may feel unsettled in a job that used to excite you. You may feel emotionally drained in a relationship that once felt like home. You may look around at your surroundings and think, why does this no longer feel like where I belong? That restlessness is not your enemy. It's divine communication. It is your soul's way of telling you, there's more. Don't stay here. Don't shrink to fit into a place you've already outgrown. Most people ignore it. They push it down, labeling it as stress or burnout or overthinking. But it's deeper than that. It's sacred discomfort. It's God stirring your spirit to move forward, to evolve, to transform. Because here's a truth few speak of: God rarely calls you through comfort. He calls you through disturbance, through the things that no longer feel aligned, through the environments that feel too small for your expanding soul. When your spirit begins to resist what your mind tries to tolerate, that's God saying, "You weren't meant to stay here forever. I have something greater, but you must first become uncomfortable enough to leave." This restlessness isn't random. It's a holy invitation to rise. It's a sign that something in you is awakening, a purpose, a path, a new chapter. But for that chapter to begin, you must first have the courage to walk away from the one that has ended, even if it hasn't collapsed yet. God doesn't always push you. Sometimes He gently pulls at your spirit. He unsettles your comfort to remind you, you were not created to settle. You were created to grow, to shift, to align. So if you're feeling restless right now, don't suppress it. Don't escape it, sit with it, listen to it, because what feels like discomfort on the surface might be the whisper of destiny just beneath it. We live in a world addicted to speed. Everything is expected to happen instantly, instant success, instant healing, instant answers. But God doesn't operate on your clock. He moves by divine timing, not human urgency, and that's why delay is one of the most misunderstood ways God speaks. You pray, you work, you wait, and when nothing happens, you start to wonder, did God forget me? Why is it taking so long? But what if the delay isn't silence? What if it's a message that says, I heard you, I love you, but you're not ready for what you're asking yet? You see, delay is not denial, it's preparation. Sometimes the blessing is ready, but you are not, and if God gave it to you now, it would crush you. Because timing is not just about what you receive, it's about who you've become when you receive it. You may be praying for a relationship, but you haven't yet healed from the wounds of the last one. You may be asking for a platform, but your ego still needs humbling. You may be dreaming of success, but your character is still being shaped to handle the weight that comes with it. God delays not to punish you, but to protect the blessing and protect you from yourself. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It's sacred. It's in the delay that your patience is refined, your faith is stretched, your identity is deepened. But here's the part most people miss. The longer the wait, the more important the assignment. God isn't holding you back. He's holding space for your growth. He's teaching you how to trust Him even when you see no movement. He's building in you the maturity to carry what you asked for, without it destroying your peace, your integrity, or your purpose. And yes, waiting hurts, not knowing hurts, but growth rarely happens in comfort. It happens in the pause, in the stillness, in the invisible process where everything seems quiet on the outside, but transformation is happening within. So don't despise the delay. Don't let impatience make you settle for less than what God has for you. Because if it's not happening yet, it simply means it's not the time, or you're still becoming the person who can handle it. And when that time comes, what was once delayed will feel perfectly timed, as if it had been waiting for you all along. God is not distant. He is not silent. He is not waiting for you to become perfect before He speaks. He's already been speaking in your pain, in your silence, in the people you meet, in the doors that closed, in the timing that confused you, in the whispers of your intuition, and in that deep restlessness that you've been trying to ignore. You don't need a sign from the sky. You need to slow down, to get still, to listen, not with your ears, but with your soul, because the truth is, God doesn't shout, He whispers, and the whisper has been there all along, waiting for you to be ready, waiting for you to stop looking outside and finally look within. So ask yourself now, in this moment of stillness, am I listening? Because the answer, the direction, the peace you're searching for, it's already here. You just have to tune in. God is talking to you, and now it's your turn to listen.